I've just turned the recording on. There we go. That's definitely my benefit, because I do forget to record sessions. We can use it as a follow-up as well, and we can use it for those students that weren't able to join us this afternoon that can hopefully get something out of it. You can turn your captions on as well, if that's what you is going to kind of help you understand what we're saying throughout the session. And yeah, just finally, we've had a few instances this week where people have tried to take over the presentation control. Please don't do that. It is quite disruptive. We can't kind of turn that off. So yeah, please. So yeah, welcome everyone. It probably makes sense to get started now. So I'm Ben. I'm one of the career consultants working with creative students at the university. I'm joined by my colleague Summer as well, who works in the career service. So we're facilitating the session this afternoon, and we're definitely we are not the main event. The main event this afternoon is Sam. So Sam Fairbrother, who's kindly taken some time out of her kind of very busy schedule to kind of tune in this afternoon and offer a kind of insight and wisdom and talk to you about breaking into the creative industries, how you can kind of self-promote yourself into the creative industry. So Sam's a designer and creative who runs Tern Heads, which is an online community designed to unite creative businesses, universities, and interns in a way that suits their individual circumstances to increase the number of graduate job opportunities in the creative sectors, increase diversity, and help grow the overall design economy in the UK. So there is a graphic design or design thread to this, but when Sam and I were kind of chatting in advance, it's very much applicable to, I think, any student really looking to break into any industry, any opportunity, but particularly, creatives. Sam's going to cover some fantastic content, and it's something to learn, for everyone really here to take away. So yeah, I'll stop talking because you don't want to listen to me, and I'll pass over to Sam, who's got a wonderful visual presentation that Sam's going to kind of through this afternoon.
Great. Okay, so bear with me. I guess I'll see if this works.
See if this works. We did run through it the other day, didn't we, Sam? It was all kind of okay. I think you did work the other day.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Has that worked? Can you see that?
I think it's loading up, Sam, I think.
Can you see my presentation?
Not at the minute. I can just see your initials. I think it's trying to. That's what that kind of means.
This is the joy of tech.
It is the joy of tech. Yeah. It's definitely yeah. Tech's never as straightforward as it sells itself to be.
Yeah. Okay, let me try again.
Yeah, you going with a share screen kind of option, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah. It should let you do it.
Maybe I'll try sharing my Chrome tab.
Oh, that would work. Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. I've done it. Yay.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. Fantastic. We have takeoff.
Wicked. Is that full screen then now?
Yeah, it looks great.
Cool.
Yeah. All good.
Okay, great. So I thought I'd talk about self-promotion, bits and pieces you can do over the summer to kind of bring all your collateral up to sort of scratch and start thinking about what you want to do next, really. So I'll take you through a bit about me and my kind of journey through education and into industry. So my name's Sam. I'm 33 and I live in Essex. I attended UCA Farnham in 2004, and I studied a graphic communication degree. There's a nerdy picture of me on the right, looking for a geeky around everyone else that looks really interesting. So I lived in the student village in my first year, and then rented nearby in year 2 and 3 with the friends that I'd made during my studies. In my second year, we actually had a workshop with an alumni student called Mark Link, who at the time worked for a company called Ziggurat Brands, who are based in Farringdon in London. And the workshop was about packaging design. And I really loved how it made you think about the physical, the visual, and the communicative aspects of the brief. So what it was basically we walked into the room and we just chose a table to sit at, and each table had a different product on it. And ours was actually rat poison. And they were all really obscure. There was like, spaghetti and all sorts of things. And you basically just had to analyze it to see if it was successful or not, and just kind of build a bit of an analysis about what was wrong with it, what could be improved and why. And I just really liked that kind of thought process, really. So that sort of started to take me down the channel within graphics into packaging specifically. So during this workshop, I was really keen to make a good impression on Mark. So I just asked as many questions as I physically could in the workshop to try and kind of stand out, I guess. And it worked. And he ended up inviting me along for a 2-week work placement at Ziggurat, which was really great. And it was my first placement, and that was in my second year. So fast forward to 2007, I graduated, and I actually got the opportunity to go back to Ziggurat in my third year, and then again after I graduated. And during my times there, I really loved the challenge of being able to work on live briefs for clients. I worked on Comfort fabric conditioner, bottle green drinks, and Quality Street as well, which was really, really cool. And just the experience of being part of a real life design team, having those kind of daily crits and stuff like that, which was intimidating. Like, I was really, really shy at uni, and I still consider myself shy, but I just had a word with myself and just kind of got out there. And the designers were really good. They can tell when you're nervous, and they do kind of help you out, and they are supportive. So you do kind of get over that, I guess. I ended up going to Ziggurat 3 times. I went to another company for a placement called Design for Business, which was based in Watford. I then went on to Bloom, which was in Clapham, and that was basically, I followed Mark there. So he went from Ziggurat to Bloom. So again, that whole networking thing really pays off, because people move about, and if they know that you're good, then they get you into their new places of work. And then from a contact through that, actually a freelancer who was at Bloom put me on to Pemberton and Whiteford P&W, which is ultimately where I got my next placement. And so I did a 3-month work placement at P&W, and they offered me a permanent contract. So that was the Christmas of 2007, so the same year that I graduated. And it was right before the economic crash of 2008. So I guess I was lucky in that respect that I got my foot in the door just before that. But it was still a bit of a wobbly time. But I'm a massive advocate for internships or work placements, even if you just get a week in a studio. At the end of the day, choosing where you're going to work is such a massive decision that you're going to make. So just getting out there and seeing how different companies work, different sizes of company as well, the kind of clients they work for, how they work, that kind of thing. It's it's as much you sussing them out as them sussing you out, definitely. Choosing where you want to work is just so important. And a lot of the time your colleagues often become your close friends, and the briefs bring different challenges and things, so having people there that you can kind of bounce off of and work together with is really, really key. And the more time I spend in the industry, the more I love it, and the more I want to help others get their foot in the door. So just to tell you a little bit about P&W, where I work. So our sector is branding and packaging. But like most agencies now in graphic design, you do kind of end up doing a bit of everything because clients often want a little bit of a one-stop shop for a lot of their design collateral when they're working on a project with you. So we've been going for about 30 plus years now, and we mainly work with big retail brands, both domestically and internationally. And we do everything. We do packaging, obviously, new product development, corporate identity, in-store theatre, point of sale, brand guidelines. We've done bits of social media content for Bueno, printed and digital advertising, copywriting, name generation, and 3D visualization as well, just to sort of help our clients build that whole kind of brand package. So just to whiz through some of our clients, we work with Disney. We helped them do their very first food offering, basically breaking into the food and drink industry in their own right. Obviously, they do a lot of partnerships with, for instance, Buxton Water and things like that. They'll basically license them to use their imagery. But this was the first project that they've actually done themselves. So this is a Disney made product from Disney. And this was really cool, being able to go up to their offices in London and walk around, and their meeting rooms are fantastic. They had like a Pirates of the Caribbean themed one where a cannon was going off every few minutes and things like that. Like they're definitely quite a creative company to work for by a long way. But that was really cool, and getting to kind of play around with their characters and things like that was really great. And we actually designed the inside of these labels as well, which were covered in all sorts of different games and things like that kids could play while they were waiting for their dinner to be made. Bueno as well, they're a really lovely brand to work for. We've done lots of things for them, from packaging again to in-store stuff and their social media shoots. We did some photo shoots for them that are a bit more kind of lifestyle-y, because they're aimed at sort of 30-something females. So that's my hand in that picture. So I got to be hand model for the day, which was again quite interesting. Tesco's is probably our biggest client, our bread and butter client, if you like. We do a lot of their standard range across the board, across lots and lots of different types of products. I've just pulled out this one because it was really fun. Again, lots of character generation. It was around the time of the Olympics. So we designed the Brekkie Squad, which was a different character on each sort of cereal type box, and they were doing a different sport each time. And again, it had lots of games on the back and stuff, which we designed. Kinder, again, really fun. We do lots of different bits and pieces for them. We do all of the Face of Kinder competitions as well, where kids can kind of send their photos in to become replace the boy on the front of the pack. And these packs we actually did commissioned illustration for as well. So, working with illustrators, picking out certain styles that you want, and then kind of being the go-between between them and the client as well, which was quite fun. Nevsky Sugar was a Russian company. Again, working with like international companies is really interesting because you have that culture difference. So it's not only a design brief, you're also having to think about how you would answer the questions in that brief from the perspective of the market that you're dealing with. So, for instance, in Russia, apparently they give sugar cubes as little treats. You'll basically give your kid a sugar cube as a treat. It's something that's been going for donkey's years in their country. So this is just a really interesting kind of brief to work on, really. Addo is a toy company, so moving into sort of non-food stuff that we do as well. So we do lots of different toy packaging with them, and this one was in tandem with Nickelodeon, and it was basically making lots of experiment-based creative drawings and models and things like that they could make to go on the front of their packaging. Tesco Finest, so another branch obviously from the Tesco brand. We actually created Tesco Finest, the brand itself, for Tesco's about 20 years ago now, and we've kind of been the brand guardians of that ever since. But we do now team up with, I think it's 3 other agencies where they've kind of separated it out into more kind of strategy, design and application. So we now work with them to bring the whole look and feel together. Co-op as well, they went through a big rebrand a few years ago, and we helped them to redevelop their Irresistible range, which is kind of a similar exercise in a way to the Tesco Finest brand. But that was really lovely to work on, and we got to work on a bit more of the kind of alcohol brands that they do as well, which was really fun. Seiko Mart, that's our Japanese client. They have 1,200 stores on the island of Hokkaido, which is just off the coast of Japan. And they are a really, really lovely client. Again, we've been working for them for about 20 years now, and we do everything for them. We've done their little credit cards, we've done their in-store hot chef counter, we designed their coffee machines, their staff brochures, their staff uniform, everything. That's kind of, it doesn't just stop at the packaging now. That really has spread across absolutely everything. And we work very closely with their team. They have like a junior team over there, and we have a lady at P&W who speaks fluent Japanese, so she's kind of the go-between us and the client, and just helps us with really important things like, what fonts do you use, what fonts look modern and what don't. Colors, again, very important. It's really, really interesting every time we get a brief from them, because every single time it's a big learning curve, and you really get stuck into it. So this next section, I thought I'd just give you some ideas about, what you could do over the summer break to help you sort of break into the industry and maybe get some internship opportunities. So the first one is write a company list. So start researching the companies that you would like to work for. Have a look at their client portfolios, their style, and how they describe themselves. And if that sounds like you, if that sounds like somewhere that you would like to work, then write them down and keep them as an option to maybe contact. Prepare your collateral. So once you have a list together of companies that you like the look of, you can now start to collate your most relevant projects to each of those different companies. So, they're not all going to be the same. They're not all going to work on the same kind of clients and products. So really think about tailoring your portfolio to each of them. Don't just send the same thing to everyone. It might just be little tweaks, like you might just have a different order of the projects or something like that. But just take a little moment to kind of consider what would be relevant for each one. You can also make improvements on earlier projects that you might have done. So, for instance, projects you've done in year 1 and 2, and you've since, learned new skills in your 3rd year. Maybe you've got a bit better at certain software. Just go back to those projects and revisit them and think, could I improve that visual? Maybe the layout of it could be tweaked. Just bring it up to scratch a little bit, basically, to include in your portfolio. And then personalize every email as well. People are really going to know if you send something and you've just blanketed that across everything. It is going to be quite obvious. So, you've done your research already. You've made a list. So just go back to that. Make sure that you're emailing the right person if you can, even if they've just got a hello at the studio sort of email. Just ping that an email and say, I'm a student, I'm just wondering if you have anyone specifically to contact for an internship, and then they should get back to you with the right person, and then that's who you can send your portfolio to. Mention things like why you would like to work for that company, a specific project that you like from their portfolio, and just become across enthusiastic, you know, like how you could slot into their company. So what I would tell myself, my younger self, is that designers don't bite. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question, because that's how you learn. You know, you don't know everything, and designers in the industry they understand that you don't know everything, and you're only going to know by asking and doing. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Talk to freelancers. They definitely have their ear to the ground, and they know a lot about what's happening in studios, where they've kind of come from, where they're going to. So they might know a little bit more about certain opportunities that might be coming up there. You know, they might know that an intern at a certain studio is their internship's coming to an end because they might be going on somewhere else. So that's maybe an opportunity for you to email and say that you're free in that time. And they'll also know who might be looking to recruit before that company's even maybe put an ad out there. So yeah, definitely get chatting to the freelancers. Less is more. Don't chuck everything you've ever designed into your portfolio. Do be selective. Update regularly, again, as you learn new skills, things like that, and tailor it to each person that you're sending it to. Be patient. Success literally can be a matter of right place, right time. So don't be disheartened by rejection. A lot of companies will offer internships even when they're not necessarily recruiting. That's not a bad thing. And obviously, while you're on internship, if you have the opportunity to go for another interview somewhere else, just let them know. Like a lot of places totally understand that you're still going to be putting the feelers out. But yeah, it might just be a case of right place, right time when you're actually on placement or when you're emailing or whatever. So just keep going, just keep trying. Be helpful and enthusiastic. So making a good impression goes beyond creating good design. So, you know, you really want to come across as being helpful and wanting to kind of help the team out as much as possible. So little things like make tea, offer to stay late and help out. If there's a crit going on, even that you're not involved in that particular project, there's no harm in saying, you know, would you mind if I come and sit in and watch your meeting? We've had a few students do that in the past. So yeah, just make them remember that you're there. So designing a creative CV, do try and express yourself. You know, it doesn't have to just be plain white sheet of paper front to back. You know, you are a creative person at the end of the day, so try and design it in a style that you like to kind of show off your skills and that you understand layout. Order the information based on what's most relevant. So for instance, it might be contact information, short bio about you, any relevant experience you have, so that being kind of within the creative industry, or awards you've won, skills in terms of, you know, software and practical skills, languages you might speak, the education that you have, and then any non-creative experience, and any references that you have at the end. Think about format as well. You know, are you approaching digital agencies, in which case would a digital CV or portfolio maybe be a little bit better? Maybe printed would work a little bit more if you're going into, say, illustration, publishing, that kind of thing, book design. Packaging, for instance, in my sector, you know, a lot of people have their printed portfolio, but then they'll make physical little mock-ups of designs that they've made so that you can see it and you can touch it in 3D, which is always really, really cool to see, because at the end of the day, that's the final product that you're designing. So designing a portfolio, keep it simple. let your work speak for itself and give it space to breathe. So I would suggest choosing a white or neutral background so that your work can really sort of ping out of that. It can be useful to include a short description of the brief and then your solution on the page somewhere, because obviously sometimes you're not going in for an interview, so you're not able to actually present it yourself. So if, for instance, you're sending this as a PDF attachment to an email, or you're leaving it at studio to go and pick it up in a few days' time, it can be handy just to have that little breakdown of, this was the brief, this was my solution, this is the final design. And do definitely, make sure people like to see your thought process as well. So if you have any sketchbooks and things like that, include that as well, so that then they can have a flick through that at the same time. Or if you're in an interview, you can obviously pull that out and show your workings. Again, think about format. If you've designed an app or an animation, obviously, pulling out your phone, showing it on your phone, showing how it actually looks in context of what you've on the thing that you've designed it for, is a much better idea than just having everything printed and flat on paper. In terms of self-promotion, make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. Most industry professionals do hang out there, and it's a really great way to network, join groups, share work that you're working on at the moment, and generally get spotted. If you're out there, you're connecting with people, you're asking questions, you're commenting on agencies' work that they're posting up, things like that. All that kind of thing just helps you start conversations, make connections, and you're putting yourself out there for someone to say, oh, this opportunity is happening. And, you never know what conversations you might start and what opportunities you might get put onto. Make sure your contact info is professional. So I would suggest definitely have an Instagram account where you can put your work up, but have that separate to your personal Instagram account. So basically you haven't got your work next to, your beans on toast that you had that morning or whatever. And the same goes for your email account. Just make one for separate kind of work purposes as well. Talk to people. So again, the opportunities are out there. You just have to find them. It's that whole, again, right place, right time, who you know, not what you know a lot of the time. And you'll probably get your first job not from a job ad. If you get told about something, there's probably less competition going for that job. So there's more chance that, you might get it, or you might get an opportunity for a placement or something. So definitely start talking to people, put yourself out there. So these were just some handy kind of links and books that I think are brilliant for this kind of thing. So there's a book called How to Create a Portfolio and Get Hired, which is by Fig Taylor, which is the grey book there. And then What They Didn't Teach You in Design School by Phil Cleaver as well is really, really great. I've just taken some quick screen grabs from them in the circles there, just to show you. It basically shows you different sort of types of portfolio styles you could have, examples of some good CVs, things like that. And then it also, I think it's in What They Didn't Teach You in Design School, actually runs you through terminologies and things like that. So it explains things like color spaces, file types, different things you'll be probably asked to do in a design studio, and what that is and what that entails and why you're doing that. So it is really useful. And then there's also a blog by Creative Bloom as well, which has lots and lots of links to free images, music, fonts, film footage, things like that. So that can, really help you out in terms of if you're doing maybe projects on the side. Make use of all that free resource and elements out there from that blog. It was really good. So what next? So for me, the past 8 years of my role at P&W has actually included interviewing, booking, and mentoring the interns that we get into our studio. And this experience has kind of highlighted for me the barriers to employment that are experienced by students and businesses, and then also understanding it from educators' point of view as well, from talking to previous tutors that I've had. So I kind of just wanted to do something basically to try and make that a bit better, a bit more streamlined. So I kind of identified that there are some elements that are maybe changing or have changed over the years. So for instance, end of year shows, graduate shows, basically they don't seem to be funded anymore, or if they are, then a lot of the time interns have to organise or even fund it themselves. But then there's also a limited kind of reach or low turnout sometimes from businesses, because it might only be that you're able to attract local businesses rather than obviously across the whole of the UK. Emailing. So for instance, when you're trying to email off to studios, interns might not be necessarily aware of who to contact. From a business perspective, we tend to get a drip feed of interest through the year, but then there'll be like a massive influx around obviously kind of May, June time when people are graduating. So it kind of relies on the university timetable fitting in with the business timetable, and that doesn't necessarily always work, because that might be our busiest time of year, so we haven't got the space in the studio or the time to take an intern on and kind of bring them up to speed. So it's just trying to kind of level that timing out, really. From an educator's perspective as well, educators might not necessarily know the number of businesses who are actually interested in collaborating in any kind of way with students and with universities. So I thought that could be opened up as well. Businesses, so they might be unaware of who is hiring. From an intern perspective, businesses, they might not have the time, the resource or the money to commit to certain types of collaborations. So for instance, they might not be able to accommodate an internship, but they might be up for coming in and doing a talk or offering a bit of mentoring. And educators might have limited connections within the industry to kind of sort that out as well, depending on if they're still working in the industry alongside teaching or not, if they left the industry a while ago. Poverty is a big thing. So yeah, hearing from a lot of interns that come through P&W, we pay our interns, but we understand that there's still a lot of companies only doing unpaid internships, which I personally think is wrong. And it is pretty much illegal as far as I'm aware, but it still happens. And I think a lot of businesses are unaware of the diversity impact that actually has on the industry. So it feels like it's getting to the point where you're only going to be successful if you can afford to work for free for a certain amount of time, rather than if you're actually talented. So it's trying to educate businesses to that fact and sort of say, you're not necessarily getting the best people, because if you don't pay them, they can't afford to come and work with you. So that's something, I'd really, really like to help address, really. In terms of the law as well on that front, so for instance, the interns might not necessarily be aware of their rights and the implications of not being paid. Businesses, they a lot of the time want to avoid extra fees or the extra work it takes in order to work out what they need to contribute legally in terms of, minimum wage, pension, sick pay, all that kind of stuff. And I know that a lot of educators try to avoid advertising unpaid positions because it's obviously not great for students' interests. So the solution, I'm hoping, is this new platform that I am creating and currently building with a web agency. So it'll be called Tern Heads. So it'll be an online community designed to unite creative businesses, universities and interns in a way that suits their individual circumstances. So there won't be any recruitment fees for businesses. It'll be a UK audience focus, so the whole of the UK. There'll be no minimum commitment. There'll be a variety of different ways you can collaborate with people. There'll be no unpaid internships advertised, and it's completely free to join it. So users will be able to upload their portfolios in an online space that's dedicated to graduates and students. So your portfolio won't be next to someone who's been in the industry for like 20, 30 years, like it is on a lot of existing sites like Behance or the Dots. You can give or receive advice via direct messages. There'll be a forum that you can ask questions anonymously if you want to, again, to avoid the stupid question fear. And there'll also be an industry stories page, which I'm hoping to encourage the businesses that sign up. I want all of their staff members to write a little bit about how they got their job, how they got into the industry, and then a little tip that they would offer to students, so that then you'll be able to kind of read through those to do with your sector and kind of get a bit of an idea of what to expect and how you might do the same. They'll be able to network as well in an unbiased, constructive environment that is exclusively tailored to junior level employment. And you can request, businesses and the educators, universities will be able to request collaborations on our opportunities page. So they could be anything from Q&A sessions, guest speakers, arranging live briefs, open days, one-to-one mentoring, workshops, internships, and anything else, really, events, anything. So the goals from the site will be to increase the number of experience and job opportunities in the creative industries, increase diversity and access for disadvantaged groups, and help grow the overall design economy in the UK. At the end of the day, you know, the UK, we want to remain one of the design hubs of the world, and to do that, we need to be having all the people with the best talent coming into the industry. So that's it. So yeah, we've got the site is being built at the moment, and we're set to launch in August, I think the middle of August at the moment. So if you'd like to join the launch group and upload your portfolio and test the site out for us, start using it and get it working, that would be amazing. And you can join that by going to ternheads.com. We're also doing a competition at the moment where you can win a bundle of different bits and pieces, including one of the books I mentioned earlier, and a Wacom tablet, a Pantone mug, lots of bits and pieces like that. So you can enter that as well. And yeah, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, you can email me, or on LinkedIn. Yeah, feel free if you want to ask me any questions, if you want me to have a look at your portfolio, anything like that, then yeah, please feel free. So that's it. And I've got to work out how I unshare my screen.
Thanks, Sam. That's been wonderful. Yeah, it's incredibly insightful. Yeah, hearing about your kind of story, the work you do in the industry, and that invaluable kind of advice for students as well in terms of self-promotion. And I think it does as well. It as much as it's got a design focus, and a lot of our creative subjects at Leeds Beckett have a design focus, some more than others. So graphic design obviously is very much that would fit in that mold. However, you know, studying some of the wider kind of creative subjects, fine art or filmmaking as well. So yeah, they also have, you know, design, that kind of creativity as well. I think there's a lot of crossover, and I think advice that you're offering there is absolutely applicable across the board as well. So I'm hoping the folks that have joined us this afternoon have really taken something away from that. I'm sure that they have. And then yeah, to hear about Tern Heads specifically as well, and the great work that you're doing there to kind of help, you know, help everyone, you know, connect, help students, and grow that kind of design economy. in the UK, and bringing kind of businesses into it as well. Because I think it's, it's a difficult time, isn't it, right now? What's your kind of sense, would you say, Sam, in terms of the state of the design economy, given what kind of COVID's done at the moment? Are there kind of opportunities still out there? Is it a case that actually, again, students who might be looking at getting those experiences and getting into the industry, I suppose, what can they be doing right now to build their way forward into when those opportunities are likely to arise?
Yeah. I mean, personally, at P&W, we've been working from home since March, when it all kicked off. And I think a lot of agencies we have been able to just make that shift. And from our perspective, we've actually kind of dealt with it really well. We're liking working from home a lot more, and it's not really affected our workload. We haven't really seen a dip in business. If anything, we're still getting interest for new business from abroad, as well as locally in the UK as well. So yeah, from a new business perspective, it hasn't actually changed really. And I know that obviously when this happened, I guess across sort of more the digital marketing kind of spectrum, a lot of campaigns came to an end in terms of like advertising and things, because they weren't maybe relevant anymore. But I definitely think as the social distancing side of things starts to ease, I think that will definitely ping back, and everyone is going to want to get back to normal. In terms of internships for us, it will be, I think, when social distancing comes to an end. There's no reason why we couldn't instantly start getting people back in. But again, I think a lot of design is done digitally and can be done remotely and things like that. So still put the feelers out there. I've seen lots of people on LinkedIn, offering advice, offering mentorships, saying they know of opportunities, people calling on other companies like within their own industries as well to hire juniors, support the graduates of 2020. So there's a lot of really good sentiment out there at the moment, and I think the businesses who are in a position to help and who can help, and who have maybe been doing internships and maybe been collaborating with universities already, I can't see why that would affect them. If anything, they would do it more, I would have thought. So yeah, I think I would say it feels like it's just more of a delay rather than you're never going to get hired because the industry is just going to collapse. I don't think it's that at all. Obviously, there's going to be certain industries that are going to be able to kind of get up and running back to normal faster than others. But yeah, I think use this time wisely, be productive, get all your ducks in a row, get your portfolio, your CV sorted out, work out where you want to work, what you want to do next, and just start talking to people. The more conversations you have, the more chance you have of finding those little opportunities that could end up, snowballing into all sorts of things. You just never know. So yeah, don't feel too disheartened by it. It's just a delay. That's all it is.
And I think that's brilliant, Sam. And I think it goes back to your point of, you mentioned patience as well. That's something that's really important. And I think for young people now at university and coming out of university, again, it's, your kind of career, your working life's going to be 50 years-ish or so, if you're kind of 21 or so coming out of uni. So it's such a huge amount of time. So give yourselves time as well. Give yourselves time to build. And I think really hit the nail on the head with said there about the kind of industry professionals as well, wanting to help the class of 2020 and looking at young people coming out into a very different labour market, world of work. Actually, there's a lot of empathy. We've started to notice that. We're trying to push that message as well to students, that there is empathy out there. There's, people that have been to university that can look back, they've been in your shoes, and actually, they might not be able to offer you a paid internship or a paid opportunity maybe right now, but what they can offer you is, they can offer you some insight, conversation. They can help you build a network. They can maybe put you in touch with other people. And as you say, Sam, as well, it's those little conversations that you might think aren't particularly meaningful, but actually can spring off into unknown opportunities and can snowball and lead to something that you might have not have realised ever kind of existed.
Yeah.
So I think that's really powerful, and we're hearing that a lot from particularly the speakers we've had this week as well. They're kind of saying, the same thing really. It's you can be really active at the moment, but doing that through people is the powerful piece. And you mentioned the importance there of LinkedIn as well. So making sure you're on LinkedIn and you're utilising it in a very active but also very professional way. You're doing your research on the people that you're making contact with, and our students as well have got, you've got access to about 100,000 Leeds Beckett alumni graduates. There's an alumni tool on LinkedIn, so that gives you an opportunity to go and find, and it might be designers. They've studied design-related degree at Leeds Beckett. They're out there in the creative industries. You can contact those people, and you've already got a warm relationship with them because you're all Leeds Beckett, and that's something to be mindful of. And we talked a bit yesterday, again through some of the sessions this week, about in confidence and not being afraid to ask.
Yes.
As well. So I think that's something that we need. We're looking to kind of address that, help our students become more confident, not being afraid to ask those questions and reach out to people as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think with LinkedIn as well, because it's a professional platform, but it is more personal than maybe emailing someone via the business they work at, because you're asking them as an individual, as a person. And I'm doing it right now myself with trying to ask businesses and professionals if they want to join up to Tern Heads.
Well, you got in touch with sorry to interject. Just to bring an example in, you got in touch with us, didn't you? You contacted my colleague Katie through LinkedIn, and a couple of weeks later, here we are.
Yeah, exactly. All off the back of just a little hi. I'm a designer. I'm trying to do this. It would be great to try and team up and do something. And then this is exactly. So you just don't know. Yes, some people won't reply, but it comes with the territory. It's like anything, and it's that whole you don't ask, you don't get. So it's
always going to be a no, isn't it? If you don't ask, it's always going to be a no. And we talked, again, how you can become more confident with it. We had a session yesterday about very much film focus on the film industry, and Matt, the speaker, he was saying, the worst that can happen from going and kind of doing stuff and asking is you become more confident in being able to do it, and you actually start to realise that it's actually, you've done a lot of overthinking in your head, and it's actually nowhere near as bad as you might have envisioned. Again, what's the worst that can happen? You try and contact someone, and that's nothing to be taken personally, because appreciating that there's probably 101 reasons why they might have not got back to you. Chances are they're really busy. They've got an overflowing inbox. They've got loads of people pinging them on LinkedIn and Instagram and wherever else they might be. So, would you encourage people to be persistent, Sam, and kind of follow up as well, and not being afraid to do so?
Yeah, definitely, especially if you're emailing your portfolio off or something, or you're asking about an internship. Then I would say avoid Mondays. I don't know what it's like at other agencies and things, but Mondays is the busiest day in a design studio, because you have your Monday morning meeting, you go through the schedule for the week, you're catching up with emails, you're getting your sort of life in order. So Mondays is usually a bit of a hectic day. So email kind of, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. If you don't hear anything back, drop them another email and reply back to the one you originally sent, sort of thing, so they know that you've already emailed them once and they haven't responded. And just say, oh, hi, just wanted to touch base, just checking if whether you did have any opportunities. And then if they don't respond again, then it's just not right place, right time. But again, what's the worst that can happen? They're either going to come back and say, we haven't got any opportunities at the moment, but we'll keep you on our books, and they'll write your name down on the list of people who are interested. They might just literally be too busy. It's nothing to say that your portfolio is bad, that you came across badly, or anything like that. It might just literally be that they're human, they're busy, and they just forgot. So never take that personally. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you're just going to be in the same position as you are on the day that you sent the email. So you're not going to get blacklisted or anything like that. So and you can move on to other people, can't you, as well? So if you've tried, if you've won doors, essentially become closed. But actually, by being that and following up as well, it might mean that maybe in 6 months' time, suddenly something might come back maybe your way. Again, it's absolutely.
never as I suppose as linear or as straightforward as we probably anticipated it's going to be. And I think the other point I was going to just mention and ask really just about going out there and kind of finding and connecting with people, and based, in terms of kind of what you said, people are busy and not being kind of afraid to go and kind of ask those questions. Do you get the sense that maybe some organisations or individuals within the industry, they might also wait for that follow-up? But when we've run sessions at the university, when we've had speakers, they've kind of said, look, we actually wait until we get a second approach as opposed to that first one, just to gauge how interested the students really are.
Right.
So I just want, it's just I suppose a strategy. It's something. Yeah. I think something to help our students understand that actually, you give it a go initially, and then if there is silence, actually, another reason to go back is because they actually might be waiting for that follow-up anyway, because that's how they decide who they might then want to speak to.
Yeah. And I mean, you might, even if it's a company that you really want to work for, like you really, really want to go for them, your follow-up could be like, oh, I've been offered a placement at this other company, a rival, but I really, really want to work for you. So this is when I'm free. Is there any chance I can come in? And just kind of like try and suss out their diary, because sometimes it is just literally they haven't got the projects that would be very good for you to work on at that time. It is all a matter of timing. A lot of the time it is just right place, right time. And remember that most of these people have been exactly in your shoes where you are now. They know how nerve-wracking it is, how you feel like a bit of an imposter, you're not good enough, all that kind of stuff. They've been there, they know it, and they know how much they've grown and developed and got better over time. So at the end of the day, if anyone comes back and is rude to you, then you don't want to work there anyway, and you don't want to work with them either. So just keep going. Leave it a month, leave it a couple of months, just keep in contact. And it doesn't have to be the same follow-up every time. It could be, maybe you've emailed them twice already, but you still really want to work for them. So comment on their social media posts, try another avenue, message one of their staff on LinkedIn and ask a question, or could you help me out on this? Just, keep putting the feelers out in lots of different ways and just see what happens.
Yeah, I suppose you're exposing yourself to those breaks, those chance opportunities, aren't you? If that's the type of approach that that you take in that kind of instance. Would you say as well it's a good idea for students to, maybe as opposed to going straight for, can you give me an opportunity, or is there an opportunity, to maybe build it a little bit more in terms of, for them as well, for students thinking about, okay, what's this organization like? Maybe what's this part of the creative industries design world like? To go out there and maybe undertake maybe an informational interview. So to show some curiosity in an individual that they might be wanting to approach, just to get their story. How did you get from university to where you are now? I'm really interested in that, and I'm really inspired by this piece of your work. Like, can I find out more? I just wonder if that could be a nice approach to nurture those relationships, but also could open up maybe an opportunity that might not have existed.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of using that a similar kind of tactic, I guess, when I'm messaging companies on LinkedIn. I'm saying, I'm starting off with something like, how are you finding things in lockdown? How's your work going? Things like that. And then I ask them about their career. I say, would you be up for helping some students out, sharing your story, and kind of just offering some tips out there and things like that. And I think everyone has come back and said yes so far. So I think it's just that. Yeah, it's almost like just going at it as a human being rather than trying to think too kind of marketing tactical about it in a way, and just again, ask questions. Ask questions. Yeah, they know what it's like, a lot of them, and you'll be more remembered for the questions you ask, I think, than just asking straight out for an internship or whatever. If you're a little bit different to the normal ones that you get, and it is literally just I'm a graduate, this is my portfolio, can I have an internship? The more you kind of pad that out and add extra things and show that you're curious and show that you're driven and that you want to work for them, you're not just looking for a job, any job, you want to work for them, and these are the reasons why. So yeah, it will definitely help you be remembered, if nothing else. And again, it might not come straight through the opportunity, but if you're remembered, there's much more likelihood that then, a couple of weeks or a couple of months down the line, they'll think, oh, that person was asking me about this particular area. It could be a client that you've mentioned in your email that you want to work for, but that client hasn't had any new briefs come in for a little while. So the next one that comes in, they might think, oh, that student was asking me about working on this. Let's get them in and they can have a go. It's little things like that. You just never know what's happening on the other side of the fence, really. So yeah, just be a human, just be chatty, show you're enthusiastic and you want to work for them and with them and understand their industry a little bit more. And you can't go wrong, really.
Because people buy people. That's the saying, and that's what it kind of boils down to. So yeah, I think that's real excellent piece of advice, Sam. Thank you. I've just noticed the time we've hit 1:30. We've zoomed kind of through. So I just wondered if anyone that's joined us this afternoon, any final thoughts or questions that you might have for Sam, if you want to pop them in the chat. Obviously, Sam's covered a great kind of range of things here and very much promoted Tern Heads as well. So we posted some links, Sam, in the chat to Tern Heads.
Brilliant.
You shared your details as well, how students can kind of connect.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a little bit of interactivity going off in the chat and stuff. So yeah, just if there's any final thoughts, folks, I hope this is been really insightful. I've certainly found it incredibly insightful, Sam, and I'd really like to thank you for taking the time out.
Oh, amazing.
Time out of your very busy schedule as well, to come in and be part of our week this week. Oh yeah, I've got a question that's just. Are you all right? Do you need to get off, Sam? Or
no, that's fine. Honestly, yeah.
Oh, great stuff. Yeah. So Jessica, thanks, Jessica. That's a really good question. It's one that keeps popping up this week. I think it might be a bit of a theme, maybe with the time year with and with the COVID kind of situation as well. So yeah, Jessica just says here, would you say that a master's is important to have when applying for jobs?
I think it would depend what sector you're going into. But probably, I mean, in graphics, I would say probably not. I think it's, you know, you need a little bit of that kind of life experience mixed in with your studies. It's one of those things, at the end of the day, you can teach people the software, the filing systems, the processes. You can't teach people so much how to be creative, how to come up with ideas, that kind of stuff. So if it's something that you want to do, then absolutely go ahead, but don't just do it because you think that you're only going to get a job because you've got one, sort of thing. Yeah. You know, it's that whole thing of, like, you know, you see a lot on job ads. They want you to have a degree, but also 3 years experience as a junior. That's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. I don't understand. So, you know, that is never going to be a thing. So juniors get jobs without having, you know, one or both of those things. Sometimes, you know, it's just, it's much more realistic to just, you know, you're going in there. It's how you present yourself. It's how you're going to show that employer that you are going to fit into that team, fit into that company really, really well. You fit, basically. So yeah, by all means do a master's, but and even if you do, try and get experience in the field that you want to go into in between that. Again, in second year, third year, all the rest of it, like, just every time you have a break, try and get a week here, a couple of days there, anything like that, just to understand yourself as well, what you want to do, where you want to be, who you want to work for. Scope it out, because it's, you know, it's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your life. So yeah, get a good mix of both.
Yeah, that's great, Sam. I think we would agree with that as a career service. You know, we're very impartial. We want what's right for our individual students as well. And when it comes to masters programs, I think there are certain qualifications that are necessary depending on the occupant. If you think about some of the health professions, you know, go in and study. You need to get entry into that occupation or that industry. However, as a kind of generalist rule, master's degree isn't going to make an employer look at you any differently from an undergrad who can articulate themselves with experience as well. So an experience counts for so much, and it's about you and your individual skills and everything you've done as a package, essentially, how you can bring it all together. And that's what will impress employers as well. So yeah, don't think getting a master's will suddenly elevate you above undergrads. But if you do want to study a master's, and there are many reasons why, you just might be curious about you know, increasing your practice at a high level of study, and that's absolutely fine. But make sure, as Sam absolutely hit the nail on the head here, with make sure you also get some experience as well if you're doing a master's. So you can never ever brush experience aside. You have to continue to do it, and continue to learn as well. And as we found very quickly, we can learn now in so many more ways with all the online opportunities, online courses. There's a lot of free things as well we can learn now. So we don't necessarily need to invest in a master's program to give us an advantage in the labour market world of work.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say in a way, employers, I think, list qualifications like that because, for instance, in graphic design, my bosses would probably put a degree student, and that's not to say that they wouldn't employ someone who is completely self-taught, and they understand Photoshop and Illustrator just as well as someone who's done a degree. We only put maybe a degree on there because it's known to be, we know that you learn up to a certain level on a degree. You're taught the kind of base level skills that we would need you to know to start working in our agency tomorrow. That's all it is. It's not it's not a barrier. It's just kind of setting kind of a level of skill that you'll probably need to have in order to get the job. So don't see it as a complete, barrier. Oh, I haven't got a master's, so I won't bother applying, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just another example. One of our lecturers at the university in the graphic arts and design department, kind of part-time lecturer, also part-time kind of an industry and an agency. I was chatting to him fairly recently. He was talking about the real need for students to have that curiosity to continue to learn as well. Because the skills you'll learn at university will be a great foundation, but it doesn't stop when university ends. And actually, by then going and working in the agency, he said that his agency had LinkedIn Learning for every staff member. So when the new recruits came in, they were able to learn some of the more niche specific tech skills that were needed for that agency. So that's something well to think about. It's never quite as structured or as straightforward as education into employment. It's much more nuanced as well. So hopefully that answers your question. Jessica, will give you something to kind of think about. Oh, great. Yeah, super. Thank you very much. Good stuff. Yeah. No more questions have kind of popped in at this stage.
That's fine.
Tom just said no final questions. Thank you very much, Sam, for your time. It's been very insightful, and thanks to us as well. Great. Thanks, Tom. Great to see you again on one of these sessions. I'm really glad you found it useful. I'm sure Sam appreciates comments as well for, again, giving up your time, Sam, today. Just thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been great chatting to you. It's been great to hear the amazing things that you're up to as well.
It's been amazing. Like, thank you so much for the opportunity and to talk about Tern Heads as well. My little venture. But if there's any other questions that people think of, maybe as they're compiling their list of companies or whatever, then do feel free to just reach out later on if you want to. Just ping me a question that springs to mind. That's absolutely fine. I won't bite.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Sam. And feel free to use the chat as well, folks. When the call ends itself, the chat is still open. So if you want to put any further comments, any feedback, any burning questions as well, and we can also make sure they go to Sam too. We're in touch with Sam. So just once again, thank you very much. And we'll see you all soon.
Good luck, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.